is me, Ashley with Keller Williams in Everett. So I'm here to record a follow-up video to a topic that I introduced in fall. And it has to do with negotiating a deal if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy a property. I first want to tell you that I still have a promotion going on. So I am still doing up to $1,000 towards your closing costs if you do not yet have a buying agent and you want to buy this year. So, you know, we're getting down to the end here. It's getting late in the year. But if you've been thinking about buying and you're like, oh man, I really want to get in there and get into this. I mean, this is a great time to buy. Give me a call. It's a very simple program. Pick me as your buying agent, and then I'll do up to $1,000 in your closing costs after we find your property and win it. What I really want to talk about is I want to follow up on the points of negotiation. So in my previous video, I talked about sort of like 3 strategies, you know, of many. There's several strategies here that will allow you to win your property. But what I want to talk about today are the other things that you can waive. So in a lot of situations, what the seller wants is an offer that is as clean as possible. So that means that there's sort of like very few places where the buyer is able to leave the contract. So, I mean, just to be clear here, worst case scenario, most of the time as the buyer, if you decide to leave your contract, what you're going to do is you're going to lose your earnest money deposit. Okay, so whatever that ends up being, sometimes it's $5,000, sometimes it's $6,000. So that's sort of like the worst case scenario. So I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind when you're doing these negotiations. The other thing to keep in mind as a buyer is really what you want to try to do is get your offer accepted so that you can get in there. I mean, probably one of the crappiest things that can happen, I think, to a seller is to have your property off the market for 3 weeks, say for example, and then the contract fall through for some reason. It's a pain, okay? It's a real pain. And so, you know, I mean, I think, you know, that kind of gives you an idea of where the seller is coming from. But let me get to the point. So the things I want to talk about today are waiving your financing contingency, which is a possibility if you're doing financing. Waiving the information that is in the Form 17, which is the seller disclosures. And I also want to talk about waiving the information in the Form 22K. Okay, so these are sort of like 3 specific areas where you can waive information, and really it sort of like stops you from being able to get out of the contract and still collect your earnest money based on something that you find during your due diligence. Okay, so for your financing contingency, because there's a lot of cash on the market, if you are financing your home, you know, and you're getting a mortgage like a lot of people do, it's really difficult for you to be able to compete with a cash offer. And so by waiving your financing contingency, what you're doing is you're really trying to make your offer look as close to cash as possible. So the ways that you can make this happen are that you've already been like fully pre-approved and underwritten. I mean, you're gonna want to get that done because otherwise, I mean, you're not gonna feel confident going into the process that way. And so basically, again, what happens with this is worst case scenario. Let's say you win the bid, so you win at the price, and the financing institution goes in and does an appraisal, and say it doesn't appraise. I mean, I think there's like a lot of ways to deal with that. First of all, I want to say there's a lot of ways to deal with that. One, you could walk on the contract. Okay, I mean that sucks. I mean, nobody wants to lose their earnest money, so you know we'd make sure that doesn't happen. The other way to do it is if you had cash to make up the difference. You know, so maybe you have cash to make up the difference. You're going to finance the bulk of the house, but then you have cash, you can make up the difference. That's perfect as well. The other thing to do is just to see if the seller would be willing to negotiate and lower the price. I mean, that's also a possibility. So those are sort of like 3 options. Okay, so you're not really out, but one thing is to waive that financing contingency, which is a possibility. The other thing is to waive what is in the Form 17. So the Form 17, what it tells you is information that the seller knows about the property. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the Form 17 is great because it can kind of give you a rough idea of what's going on with the property. I will say that, I mean, you know, you're getting like, you know, the seller is probably not an inspector, or, you know, they're probably not a contractor. So, you know, you're going to get some information regarding the condition of the property in there. And you can go through and you can actually say, okay, I don't want to have to, I'm not going to change the terms of our contract based on what I find in this Form 17 as the buyer. So that's definitely something that can be done. And lastly, waiving the 22K. So this form here is really about the utilities. And so what you can do is you can just say, hey, you know what, I will take care of whatever remaining utilities there are in, and these would be lienable utilities in the Form 22K, and usually it's not going to be more than like $1,000. But hey, you know, like something like that might be, you know, enticing. I mean, you know, imagine what you could do with $1,000. So there's definitely some great options there. I will say that it will also help you if you can find a buying agent that has had some negotiation training, okay? Some type of negotiation training, really critical, so that they're able to get in there and like advocate for you and help you get the properties that you want. I am a certified negotiation expert, so I've done that type of training, and I'm going to continue to do that training. I'm actually going to go ahead and get the master's. I mean, you know, it's been, I think, thus far, in my experience, been very, very helpful in helping me win properties for my clients, which I've done. And so, you know, they're happy and I'm happy, and I think it definitely works, and I can definitely help you out. So with that, I will remind you I still have a promotion going on. I am doing up to $1,000 towards closing costs if we get you into a deal at the end of the year here. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, and check out my website, ashleybolden.com, and I will see you again soon, YouTube.